The Warriors of Chaos. The Empire. We're going to have a fight. A 1v1 online battle on Barrier Idols. Haven't played this map in a while. It's a pretty good one though. It's got a little bit of tacticalness and some openness to it. So you've got options. I started down here. So this is kind of an awkward place to show you my army. So I'll wait till I get up top of the hill. We'll show you the Empire army first for a change. Woohoo. Mixing it up. So he's a bit randomly scattered at the moment. But his infantry is 4 units of great swords. They're of course going to be good for getting through all the chaos armor, as they tend to have a lot of it. And they also have that bonus versus infantry, which is going to make them even tougher to try and get rid of with my infantry. And he's got 3 units of handgunners, so more armor piercing there. He's gone very heavy on the armor piercing so far. He clearly knows what the chaos are all about. His anti-large infantry is but 2 units of the cheapest spearmen against the warriors of chaos with a lot of strong monsters. Is that a good idea? We shall see. One of them's all the way over here for some reason. I think he was looking for my army at this point. He's also got a cannon. Going to be good for taking out the monsters, so maybe that's his anti-large plan. He's gone lighter on the spearmen, but he has got a cannon to take them down. The skirmishers can help take him down as well. And of course, if you want to deal with large foes, demigriffs with halberds are of course one of the best options. So he's got a unit of those, giving him options in his anti-large uses, and he's brought some Empire Knights to the party as well. So that's the bulk of his army. Oh, there's a grey wizard over here as well, and then his general is off looking for my army, I think. Good old Carl, sitting on his horse. So he's a duelist. We're going to have to watch out for him in melee. He can do a fair amount of damage. He's going to be hard to catch on his horse as well. Let's see where my army is. We've just about reached the top of the hill by the looks of it. Still not quite lined up yet though. So he does have the range advantage with the artillery and his missiles. So I'm going to have to come to him. I can't just sit back, as I will take a hammering from that cannon. He's got a bit of a weird formation as he's kind of in one, but also a little bit scattered. We arrived yet? Come on. Don't know why I didn't just fast forward it in the first place. So I started down here. I thought he might be sitting up here on the hill waiting for me, trying to get the high ground advantage, so I started there. I had a nice sneaky flanking plan all in place, but it wasn't to be. My front line is 3 units of Chaos Warriors, a great infantry against lightly armoured troops, as they don't really have any armour piercing. I've got a unit of Aspiring Champions, also great against lightly armoured infantry. I've got 2 units of Forsaken, also great against lightly armoured infantry, and they're very quick on their feet, so they're good for getting after skirmishers. You may notice a theme going on here. What else have I got? Halberds at the edges, of course. You know how I roll. 2 units of halberds, 1 at either edge. I've got some warhounds as well. Gonna munch down some missiles, hopefully. We've got a unit of Chaos Spawn. Another great non-armor piercing unit. Have you figured out the theme yet? I'm trying to make it a little bit obvious. What do you notice about my army? There's my other unit of halberds. And I've got 1 unit of cavalry in Chaos Knights. A very strong cavalry indeed. They're a melee cavalry, so they can hang around and bush some faces off. And then my 1 armor-piercing unit is a mighty one indeed. It's the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. So, the thing about my army is I don't really have any armor-piercing, and all of his infantry and cavalry is heavily armoured. The leader of this ill-equipped force is Prince Sigvald. A lot of people don't seem to like Prince Sigvald for some reason. They don't think he's very good. I actually really like him. He's one of my favourite Chaos Generals. He's probably my 2nd favourite Chaos General. Because you can give him regeneration, you can give him an armor ability that gives him regeneration, and that makes him a hell of a lot stronger and makes him more kind of like a vampire lord or something. And he's a duelist, so you know he can take out those other enemies, and he's got a charge defense. Some pretty cool little traits. I'm just trying to get my army up now, trying to get them in formation. I'm going to put them in lock groups so they all move at the same speed, otherwise we'll all be arriving at different times, and that's just annoying. He's pulling his cavalry back. He's got himself in a bit more of a formation now. He's moving his spears over to the right side so that he's got anti-large all over the gaff. But yeah, the army matchup is very much in his favour. His great swords can take out any of my infantries because none of us have any armour piercing to get through their armour. And he does have armour piercing to get through my armour. He's also hammering away at me with the cannon. I think he's trying to get my Aspiring Champions here. He's doing a bit of damage to them. But of all my units on the battlefield, that is probably the least of his worries, considering that I have a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, which is my only armour piercing unit, and cannons are kind of made for anti-large, and he's a massive target. He should be shooting at the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. So that's a mistake there, I think. But I do hate having to move up like this as the Chaos, because they're so slow. Everyone's reduced to about 28 speed, because the Chaos Warriors are about 28 speed. So it means that we've got to stand and take a little bit more fire. I've moved my Warhounds out to the right here, and you know what my plan is with them. I'm going to bring them around, get them after the missiles. My cavalry, his cavalry are on the same side as my cavalry, and I'm obviously going to lose that engagement if I try to take both those cavalries on. So I've got to try and avoid his Empire Knights and Demigriffs. My Chaos Warriors taking a little bit of damage from that cannon, but not too much. My Aspiring Champions are the one... Ooh, they've taken a fair amount of damage from it. They've lost a few units in there as well, and a good amount of health. Starting to open fire with those handgunners now. Their armor-piercing missiles, of course, going to be good for getting through my troops. Poising on the left. No one's engaging yet. I'm bringing over my other halberds to try and help with those demigriffs and stuff, because there's nothing on the right large that I need to worry about. My warhounds, I messed them up here. I sent them to go just about here, thinking I could try and run into the front of his missiles, but then I just forgot about them, and they just kept running, and eventually ran into some greatswords. Movement with his cavalry on the left, so I pull my Shaggoth and Chaos Knights away from that. I don't want anything to do with those demigriffs. They are an anti-large destroyer. Going to keep my halberds facing him to keep him deterred from coming at me. My Shaggoth is of course very important to my victory here, as I don't have a lot of armor piercing. Here's my warhounds that ran into the greatswords. Just pulled them back, just realised in the nick of time. Going to start to try and wing them around to get after these missile units, as that is their role. And these handgunners are still popping off at me. My Forsaken were planned to be flanking units the whole time, so I'm starting to move them towards the edges, although there isn't a lot of room on the right because I don't have enough units. But on the left, old Zerky spies himself an opportunity. With the cavalry staying out the way for now, it means I can take advantage of this gaping massive hole that my opponent has left in his error. But when Zerky sees a hole, he sees an opportunity. Leave that alone. That's what she said. So I'm getting after his artillery here. Going to use my Forsaken to block the spearmen to stop them from chasing. My Shaggoth's got the artillery. Chaos Knight's going after the missiles. Grey Wizard there too. He's going for it. Oh, he went absolutely flying. So anyway, I said to the man, "Look here, boy. I'm going
Cavalry, Brian!"
What? Where? Oh yes. For Sigmar! Oh, brilliant. So my cavalry is sorting out the skirmishers, protecting my Shaggoth there because they were starting to fire at him. And I need him to take out all the greatswords. At the moment, I've got him fighting the artillery, but he will soon be engaging in all those greatswords. Front line's still getting into it, but of course I am struggling, as I am on the right, my Forsaken fighting greatswords. My Warhounds finally got into these handgunners, but they are starting to waver, because they were shot at quite a bit before they got there. My Chaos Knight's still sorting out all the other ones. Another opportunity presented itself, although I kind of had to make a choice. So Franz is in here, fighting with Sigvald, which isn't a good choice for him anyway. But I saw the opportunity, as he's on a horse, to get my anti-large halberds into him. Of course, they are an awesome anti-large unit, so they will destroy him very quickly if he stays there. On the left flank, the halberd demigriffs have finally made a move. I've been trying to tie them up with Forsaken, try to keep them from chasing anything else. He's going to get a nice rear charge here though. As I chose to dedicate my halberds on Karl Franz, it means I can't really protect the rear of my line anymore, and my Chaos Warriors are going to take a mighty charge from these Empire Knights. But that's okay, that's the choice I made to try and get after Karl Franz. That free unit of halberds were probably deterring his Empire Knights from coming in here before, but now that I've applied them somewhere, he's kind of got the opportunity and he's going to take it. So he's got a nice charge in there. Karl Franz though is getting thoroughly slaughtered by Sigvald and my halberds. Those demigriffs have been trying to get after my Chaos Knights. I've just been running them away from them and charging them through the missiles on the way, trying to get those Forsaken to tie them up as much as I can to slow them down. You can see they're trying to pursue my Chaos Knights because that's who they want. And I see the opportunity for a rear charge myself here on these great swords. Going to smash them in the back. But I'm also going to get counter-charged by the demigriffs, who were in hot pursuit, of course. So a little bit of double charging going on there, but it's all good. I, of course, don't want to hang around fighting demigriffs, so I'm going to pull my Chaos Knights through my unit, keeping them safe, as the demigriffs can't follow them through it, without pushing through considerably and taking loads of damage anyway. My Shaggoth is into the great swords, absolutely smashing them to pieces. Got himself a good few kills so far. Still keeping the missiles at bay. My front line, though, is of course struggling against all these great swords. These ones have been beaten, these ones are wavering now. So great swords have overrun my front line. They're all fallen now. Gonna need to bring everything over that I can to try and sort things out. Gonna get my warhounds on these missiles though, still need to keep them away. Karl Franz has just about managed to survive. You can see he's got a little bit of health there. I've got Sigvald giving chase. He's trying to keep away though, so he's about to run away again. Lots of great swords left. My Shaggoth has got his work cut out for him. My Chaos Knight's coming back in now with a cheeky charge. Got to watch out for those spears though. I was actually trying to get them after Karl Franz, trying to get him dead, because at this point I kind of need it. They're all horribly failing and missing though. One of them's got him. Go on, son. Chop him down. So it's mostly up to my Shaggoth now, because my infantry has done a good amount of damage to all the great swords. They've beaten them down to the point where they'll rout quite easily once they're fighting a Dragon Shaggoth, and he'll do tons of damage to them, and he's got terror, so he should be able to get rid of them fairly comfortably, provided those demigriffs don't get too much of a hold of him. But they seem to be preoccupied elsewhere at the moment. I'm still trying to get Karl Franz, but he is sneakily surviving. Wavering. He's wavering. He's a couple of hits off being dead. Still got Sigvald in pursuit, but he's still keeping him away pretty well. Running around his demigriffs there. Just routed the Grey Wizard. We've thoroughly thinned out their troops. They've got lots of white flags going on. It's only really the demigriffs surviving. A couple of great swords. Karl Franz is still alive. He's done well to keep him in the game, because if he'd gone down, they'd definitely be gone by now. Not sure where my Shaggoth's going there. Back to the fight, buddy. I think I was lining him up to flank these great swords. Ooh, for that sort of thing. These great swords surely will not be around too much longer. Franz still doing some circles. Demigryphs. Looks like they're just about to get rid of my Chaos Warriors finally. But I think it's too little, too late, my friend. The white flags start a raisin. And that is all she wrote for the Empire. So, a good one, a close one, a tough one. He had the army to beat me there. He had the advantage with all the armor piercing. But this hopefully was a demonstration of tactics beating army composition advantage. See, my Chaos Warriors here didn't do very well against those greatswords at all. My Forsaken killed a lot of spearmen and missiles. I think that's most of their kills. Halberds did alright, as did the Chaos Knights. Warhounds drew through quite a lot of people, mostly missiles probably. And of course my Dragon Ogre Shaggoth was the destroyer of greatswords. So a fairly well-rounded team effort from my army there. I deployed a fair few less, about 200 troops less than he did. So he had the numbers advantage as well. His greatswords of course did plenty of killing. They did most of the work. I managed to keep his handgunners from doing too much. His Demigryphs and Empire Knights probably should have done a lot better than they did, especially the Demigryphs. His cannon did a bit to us on the approach. But overall, a good game. So how did that one play out? Well, as I said, he had the army advantage really, because he had all the armor piercing. I was expecting him to bring a lot of lightly armoured troops, hence why I didn't really bring too much armor piercing. But nope, he went the other way and he brought all the heavy troops with all the armor piercing. So he had the potential to steamroll me there, as he did steamroll my front line pretty much. He just had to get that Shaggoth dead. He had to protect his skirmishers so they could blast it down, or relentlessly try to get his Demigryphs after the Shaggoth, as they'd bring him down fairly quick. So ultimately, his inability to slay my Dragon Ogre was his downfall. I think I played this one pretty well. I obviously knew I wasn't going to win the frontline fight with my Chaos Warriors, but I knew that if they could do enough damage to the Great Swords, then that would be enough. If they brought all the Great Swords down to half health, my Dragon Ogre would easily be able to finish them off, probably all at the same time. My biggest mistake, however, was probably not expecting all those great swords. I should know that he knows I have a lot of armor, so he's going to bring a lot of armor piercing. But I didn't think of that. I thought he'd probably bring more lighter troops, as people tend to. But hey, he caught me out. That's how it works. That's the beauty of Total War. And hopefully this goes to show that even if you do bring the wrong army to fight your opponent, with some tactics and good application, you can still get the W. And that about wraps this up. I thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll see you in the future.